Hi everyone, welcome to this module on a quick VPN Connect demo. As we saw in the previous module, let me just bring up the setup here. We have an on-premises setup with an address space of 10.0.0.0/16. We have an we have an OCI setup with a VCN address space of 172.0.0.0/16, and we will create a DRG. We'll update the route table. We'll change some of these network security groups here, or the security list here, and then we'll create a static route here, IPsec tunnels, and we'll show all this working by concluding that IPsec tunnels are in an up state, it's up and running, right? So let's go ahead and do this setup. Now, just for this setup, I am running this whole on-prem side of the world in AWS. So I'm going to skip that part. I have a LibreSwan VM which I have installed in the AWS environment, and I've configured the software, etc. So I'm going to skip it. But if you guys want to follow, there is documentation right here. So if you follow this documentation and you scroll down, it shows you setting up LibreSwan, and you can follow some of this configuration here to make sure that your environment is the environment you are running, the on-prem environment, has all the requisite parameters, etc. Right? So let me just quickly show you the things you have to do as the workflow. We had like this 7-step workflow in creating the VPN Connect. So let me just quickly go ahead and show that. So first thing I'm going to do is I need a virtual cloud network on the OCI side, right? So I'll say this is my VPN for my VPN Connect demo. So call it VCN Connect, and right here I'll just create my VCN, and will create some subnets, etc. later on. So right here I can create my VCN, and the address space I'm using is 172.0.0.0/16. Let's go ahead, create one subnet, though I'm not going to spin up any instance in here, but that's fine. Let me just quickly go ahead and create a subnet. I'm going to use the default route table, and I'm going to use the default security list, right? That's fine. And because it's, I'm going to access it to my on-prem environment, let me make it a private subnet, right? And click create here, and now is created, right? So plain simple, VCN has one subnet. I am using the default route table, the default security list. So a couple of things I need to do is, for this demo to work, I have to open certain ports for my VPN connect to work, right? So for TCP I need port 4500, and I need port 500, and I need to do the same thing for UDP. All right. So my ingress rules, we just change, nothing complex. We just change TCP, we open port 4500, TCP again we open port 500, and UDP we open for 4500, and we need to open 500 there. So let me just edit here. It just said all there. All right, so pretty straightforward, right? So we created we changed the security list. Now let me go ahead here, and as you can see, there is no if I click on dynamic routing gateway, you can see that there is no DRG available here, right? So let's go ahead and create a DRG. It takes quite around a minute or so, sometimes less, to create. So it is going on in the background. As the DRG is getting created, let me go ahead and create a CPE. So CPE, if you recall, is the virtual representation of your actual on-premises equipment, network device running your on-premises environment, right? So I need a public IP here. Now, like I said, I'm running this in my AWS environment, and this is the public IP I have, 3.230.163.217. This is my public IP of the LibreSwan VM, which is running in AWS. So let me just grab that and put that public IP here, because I would need that, and create a CPE. and now my virtual representation of that network device is created in OCI right here. If I see DRG, my DRG is up and running, so it took less than a minute. Now you can see here, first thing I need to do is I need to attach it to a virtual cloud network. So right now it says it's not attached to any VCN, right? So the VCN we just created, let's just attach it there. So VCN connect, so just say attached to virtual cloud network. Remember, they have one-to-one relationship. So now it's getting attached here, right? So next thing I also need to do is I need to create my IPsec connections. So if you click on IPsec within your DRG, it says go to the IPsec on the menu here. So this is my networking menu, bunch of things we have already looked, right? So there is IPsec connections here. Right now I can see I have no IPsec connection, right? So let's go ahead and change and create one. The first thing says, okay, which compartment are you planning to use? And you have to be careful because it chooses like the root compartment. So choose the compartment, training compartment. All my assets are running here. So I would just choose that. It's asking to provide a name. I'm really bad at naming. So I'll say IPsec1. Then it says where is my CPE? We just created this CPE a few moments back, so let's use that. And then it says where is my DRG? We just created this DRG, right? And now it's asking for a static route. I could have used a dynamic routing as well. Uh, right now, just to keep the demo simple, I'll use my static route here. But if you click on advanced options here, you can see that you could actually pick BGP routing as well, right? And it's a new feature, and you could pick up your IKE version, so IKE v1 or v2. And again, some of these complex things we talk about in the level 200 module, but I could have chosen a dynamic routing here as well, right? I'm going with static, that's fine. Let me just make sure that this is the static route I have. This is my AWS VPC CIDR 10.0.0.0/16, right? That's my static route, right? And I click here and my IPsec connections would now be created. Now this takes literally like a minute or so, and my connection would be you would see this is change to a provision state. Now a couple of things to note here, right? I'm using static routing, which we just provided. You can see that my public IP, the tunnel has public IP, right? First thing is we create two tunnels, right? You see tunnel 1 and you see tunnel 2. Then you can see that the tunnel has a public IP address here, right? 129.213.7.49 and 129.213.6.52, right? So the two different public IP addresses. And the IPsec status is down, of course, because we have not set up the LibreSwan end, and we have not done all the configuration, and it's in the provisioning state right now, right? So if I click on this tunnel, I can see my shared secret here, right? And it's showing me the shared secret, which we will be using for our configuration. So as this is getting configured, let me go ahead and make these changes to my LibreSwan VM, which is running on the AWS environment, right? The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the IP address here, and I'm already logged into my LibreSwan VM, which is running in AWS, and you can see here I'm logged in. I'm using a CentOS environment to run my LibreSwan, etc. Right? So I'm logged in here. If I just do my directory, right now I'm in the etc directory, right? So let me bring up a couple of files we are going to use for our demo, right? So the first file which we are going to use is the IPsec config file, and if you can see here, it has certain parameters which I was testing earlier. So there is a connection here, we're calling connection OCI1, and you can see some parameters. There is the OCI public IP address for one of the tunnels, right? So it's right here, and then there is the OCI VCN CIDR range, so you can see that here, and then the three parameters down below are all related to AWS. So this is my local VPC I'm using in AWS environment. This is the public IP of the LibreSwan VM. And then this is my AWS VPC CIDR, right? So pretty straightforward. Let me just go ahead and make changes to this file. So the only thing which we need to change here looks like is the public IP uh, for my tunnels, right? So this is my DRG IPsec public IP and public IP for the tunnels. And if I see I have 129.213.7.49 instead of 59, right? So let me just go ahead and make this change here. 49 right here also. do the same thing. 49. My OCI VCN cider is the same. My AWS side is the same. My AWS public IP is the same. And then my AWS VPC cider is the range is the same, right? So none of those parameters change. So I went ahead and I saved my file, and if I see the change, I can see that the IP address right now is changed here, right? So there is one more file which we need to change, and if I see my ipsec.secrets file, it's pretty straightforward, right? I just have one entry for my OCI tunnel public IP, one of the tunnels. I have the public IP of the Libreson VM, and then right here I have the shared secret. So let's go ahead and change this file as well. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change my IP here. So it's 49. And then right here is this shared secret. It's going to be the shared secret coming from my tunnel. Let me just delete this whole thing and go back to my tunnel. Grab this whole thing here, copy it. All right. So I got my um, secrets file updated, and now my configuration is almost done. I could restart, I could say ipsec verify, and I could restart my and you can see some of these things are says enable sudo service ipsec restart, and I could restart my service. I could verify IPsec again, and I see a bunch of these things are okay, right? If there was an error, it would have given me an error here. The thing is, the tunnels are still being provisioned. If I go back here, I can see the tunnels are still being provisioned. So let me pause the video for a couple of minutes. It takes few minutes to provision these tunnels, and once the tunnel is provisioned, you would see that the state would change from a down state to an up state, at least for one of the tunnels, because we just configured that particular tunnel. So let me just pause the video here and come back once the tunnels are tunnels are provisioned. All right, so looks like my tunnels are up and running. So it takes literally a few minutes, and you can see the state here for both the tunnel. The IPsec status shows as down. Now, one thing which we didn't do earlier when we were running these running the demo is we didn't really create change the route table entries. So if I come back to my VCN which we created, we changed the security list, but we really didn't change add anything in the route table. So you can see that we have a default route table and there is no entry in here. So the packets have no way to go to the DRG, right? So let's go ahead and change that. So I can pick my DRG here, and my destination is my AWS environment, and I can just add this particular rule here, right? So let's do that, and then as we said as we did in the previous before the tunnels were getting provisioned, let's go ahead and restart my IPsec just to make sure that clear my screen and restart the IPsec service. So we did that, and then let's do sudo IPsec auto status grep, and you can see there that my route is visible, right? So it shows the tunnels were created correctly, and you can see that this is my this shows the tunnel going from my the AWS VC Insider, the AWS public IP, going to the OCI tunnel here, right? 129.213.7.49, right? So the tunnel seems to have been created correctly. If I go back to my DRG or my IPsec connections, my connection would be up in a few seconds. So let me again pause the video. It takes sometimes it takes a minute or two, and once it's up and running, will come back. All right, so that took a minute or so, and as you can see now, my tunnel IPsec status says up, which means that my tunnel is up and running. Now, if I had an instance running inside that subnet, I could have pinged my Libreson VM and vice versa to show you the connectivity. But you can see the IPsec status up here, and it's basically what it means is the tunnel has been established between the on-premises CP device, which is the Libreson VM running in AWS, and my OCI DRG, the two tunnels I have, right? And right here you can see some of the matrix. I can do this in like less than a minute, and there is no data here, but you can see the tunnel state, packets with errors, etc. Right? Couple of things I want to quickly show here is I just configured one tunnel. If you recall, if I go back to my Libreson VM configuration and bring up the IPsec configuration file, I just have one tunnel configured here, right? If I had both tunnels configured, you would see both tunnels up and running. One tunnel is down because I just configured one. It's really straightforward. This took literally 15 minutes or so. This is good, an easy way for you to test and start with a POC environment, and then for more complex scenarios, switch over to Fast Connect. So I hope this was useful demo. Thank you for watching this demo. In the next module, we'll talk about Fast Connect. Thank you.